Good morning, friends, and welcome. Nice to have you here. Good morning, Lou.
Good morning. How are we doing today?
Good. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Um, all of us, I guess this is the time of year when we start to unwind, looking forward to a few days off and just relaxing. So today we're going to be doing chapter 18, verse 6, 7, 8, and 9. Without further ado, verse 6 says, but even with these actions, even these actions which are to be done, remember last time we said that there were three actions that Krishna tells Arjuna he should do. One is yajna, or sacrifice of one's own ego, and the second is tapa, which is concentrating all of one's body, mind, speech, and saving those energies to use towards improving yourself, towards self-realization. And he said those three have to be done. And now in verse 6 he says, but even these actions are to be done by giving up attachment and result. This is my clear, proper vision, O Arjuna. So he says, even those that I'm telling you to do these actions, you must do it without any attachment to the action itself and without any attachment to the results. So give up sangam, he says. Sangam means union, joining, which is the attachment to not just the action, but also the doership. The attitude of, I did it. Oh, praise me. I did good. I'm the one who's the doer. Give that up. These are very important concepts. If you keep them in mind, write them on a small piece of paper, carry it around with you, and make sure that every so often you refer to it, because we're going to go through a few of these now. To give up the I, the me, the my, my child, my grandchild, my wife, my son, my daughter, give all of this up. It's hard to give it up completely, but at least minimize the effect it has on your day-to-day thinking and on your action. So he says, while you're doing the yajna, tapa, dana, etc., give up this doership, give up the action, the responsibility of the action, and give up the I-ness of all of that. Now, what should you do then? How should you think of this if you do an action? Think to yourself, it ought to be done. This has to be done. I've got to do it. And we'll talk in a few minutes about the different kinds of actions. What are the actions that you need to be doing all the time? You're a husband, you're a wife, you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you're also a father, you're a community member. There's many duties that we have. So what are the actions? We'll talk about that. But any action that you do, it ought to be done. That should be your attitude. The action is performed in the present moment, right? What we're doing now, like I'm talking to you, that's my action. That's being done at the present moment. The result of this that I shouldn't be looking at is at some point in the future. That could be 1 minute from now, 30 seconds from now. It could be years from now. Krishna says, do not think of the future. Do not think about the result. Do not think about the past. Don't think, well, I did this action once before, it had poor results. Don't think of the past. Don't think of the future. For those of you, I know, Lou, you are a big proponent or enthusiast, or at least you've studied mindfulness. Am I right?
Yes.
So this is where this whole concept of the mindfulness is also coming from. The Upanishads and the Gita were written thousands of years BCE. The Gita was written at least 3101 BCE, and that all of the ideas of this came from the Upanishads, which were many, many thousands of years before that. Neither Jainism nor Buddhism, Christianity or Islam were present at the time. So this was like the origin of this thought of mindfulness, which is think about the present moment. And it's nice to explain in the way of mindfulness. Mindfulness suggests that if you're walking, you're late, you're supposed to be going for a job interview, and something happened that was beyond your control, You're walking to the job interview, walking as fast as you can. And mindfulness tells you, don't think of the future, saying, I'm going to go there and he's going to yell at me. Why are you late? I'm not going to give you this job. Then I'm going to say this. He's going to say that. That's thinking of the future. Instead, he says, don't think of the past, that what made you get late. Think of the present. Think of this step that you're taking. Think of the next step. Think of your breathing. Put yourself in the present moment. Am I right, Lou?
Yes. Yeah. It's one of the key principles. Yes.
So action is present. Action is performed in the present moment. The fruit, the reward is in the future. Don't focus your mind on the future, is what Krishna says. Don't focus your mind on the past. Focus instead on the present. For example, and this is something else to write down and put down in your wallet. We tend to be in a hurry for everything. Don't be in a hurry, because when you're in a hurry, you're always thinking about what's happening in the future. Instead, calm down and be present at the moment. More and more people, at least here in the United States, are doing what's known as multitasking. For the last 10, 15 years, I've been noticing that people say, do more things at the same time. In fact, I belong to a training class, gym, and it's on Zoom these days because of COVID. And even the trainer, instead of doing one exercise at a time, as used to happen 50 years ago, he'll do 3 exercises at the same time. So he's saying, instead of doing just one exercise at a moment, you're exercising the biceps. At the same time, you're just standing up and down on your toes and doing something else with your neck, so that you're doing 2 or 3 exercises at the same time, multitasking. What Krishna says is, don't do that. Don't be in a hurry, because if you're in a hurry, you're going to be thinking about the future, not at the present. For example, if you're traveling from point A to point B, generally, what do all of us do? We keep thinking about point B. I'm going to get there and I'm going to see such and such. He's going to come to the train station to pick me up, airport. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Instead of looking at the journey as we're taking it, Krishna says, enjoy the journey. Focus your mind on the journey, on that distance between point A and point B, instead of just focusing on point B. Don't be in a constant hurry. Don't keep thinking of the past. Don't keep thinking of the future. With this attitude, why? Why should we do this? Because with this attitude, you will feel peaceful inside. I promise you. You will feel peaceful. Your mind will, with practice, get to be calmer, more peaceful, clean, etc. So that if you're doing a very simple job as sweeping the floor, as you've got the broom in your hand and you're thinking only about sweeping the floor, by the time the floor is swept, your mind is again very peaceful, very calm, very pure. And why is that important? Because ultimately, the more peaceful your mind is, the less desires you have, the less distractions you have. Whatever you're doing comes out beautifully. It comes out clean, laser sharp, your mind is, and you get closer to becoming self-realized. You're one step, one notch closer. So Krishna says in chapter 3, we're talking about actions, we're talking about results. In chapter 3, Arjuna asked Krishna, if you remember, should I do action? Should I do karma or should I do bhakti? Should I pray or should I do act? And Krishna says to him, look, you're a soldier. Your whole life, you've been your swadharma, your duty, your sworn dharma is to do action, to fight. So you just don't worry about bhakti, that'll come. Just do fighting, do your war, do your action. Now, important thing is, what we have likes and we have dislikes, raga and dvesha. Those come from things we've done in the past, in our present life, and in our previous lives. Likes and dislikes. So there are things I don't like, things I like. Those will determine what actions I take. I hope that's clear. From your actions in the past, in your current life as well as previous lives, you develop likes and dislikes. Those likes and dislikes determine what actions you're going to take or avoid. So your current actions are going to determine your likes and dislikes in the future, and therefore actions in the future. Those desires prompt action. So there's three types, and these next three verses, 6, 7, 8, and 9, are talking about the three different kinds of tyaga. Tyaga means renunciation. Renunciation of what? What are you renouncing? Tyaga means renunciation of the desire prompted action. You remember I said in the previous episode, I said there is a selfish desire that we have for things. That selfish desire, because we like what it is that we're desiring, prompts an action. You want something. You have eaten a sweet in the past, a particular dessert. You like it. That like, then when you see it, you say, oh, there I see in the bakery that sweet that I like. I need to step inside. That's an action. Go to the bakery, take out my wallet, take out some money, action, buy it, action, and then eat it. So that like from the previous episode, previous encounter with this sweet, that sweet object went in my mouth. I liked the taste. Therefore, it is now prompting an action for me to go. So those actions, that's a selfish desire. That selfish desire prompted this action. So renunciation, tyaga, is a renunciation of that selfish desire prompted action. Now there's two kinds of actions, three actually. Nitya karma or niyat karma, which is a routine regular duty. I said before that this routine obligatory duty is what we have as many roles, many hats that we wear. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a doctor, I'm a community member, I'm a neighbor. All of these give me duties that I have to do because I am that person. Those are routine duties, obligatory duties. I have no way of getting out of those. The next is naimittika karma, which is a special occasional duty. My duty is to get up in the morning, get in the car, go to the hospital, do my job, take care of patients. And I have a routine. I have to get up and get out of the house at a certain time. Now, as I'm getting up and going out, I see my neighbor, suppose, clutching his chest, falling down on the ground and say, I've got chest pain. I can't say, well, I have a routine obligatory duty of going to the hospital. Bye, see you later. I hope you get better. No, it's an obligatory duty that I now have because it's an occasional special duty, a naimittika karma, where I have to stop my car, call 911, go and immediately try and help him. Doesn't matter if I'm late, that is the duty that I have. That's a naimittika karma. And we'll talk about some action that should not be done ever. So you have a responsibility towards your body, your mind, your family, your country. There's many responsibilities that you have. You as a father, as a husband, as a doctor, etc. Your own duties that you have to do are known as swadharma. Swa means me or good. Dharma, that's your good, this dharma for yourself. That's swadharma. Those are duties that you personally have to do. Then there is paradharma. Par means somebody else's. Those are actions that somebody else has to do. You should not do them. Though you only do your swadharma, not your paradharma. Somebody else has to do something, you can't say, well, I'll do it. I mean, unless he asks you or he can't do it, then it becomes your naimittika karma. It's something that's an occasional special duty. You help somebody else out by doing his duty. But otherwise, stick to your own. And the last kind of action is adharma, which is a thing that you should not be done. So anything that your conscience says, this should not be done, killing or hurting or harming or being abusive, abrasive, all of these actions are not to be done. Now, of renunciation, there's three kinds: the tamasic, the rajasic, and the sattvic. He starts this time with a tamasic, and there's a reason for it. In verse number 7, he talks about a tamasic, tyaga, giving up of your obligatory duties. Your obligatory duties are, for Arjuna, was because he's a soldier, he's obligated to fight. Many people have questioned, says, if the Gita promotes fighting, war, what kind of a religious text is it? Now, religion doesn't say you shouldn't fight or defend your country or your wife or your family. So religion never says that. In fact, it says that use your intellect. That's what the Gita says. Use your intellect. Do not fight, do not kill, do not harm unless it is absolutely necessary. So somebody comes into my house in the middle of the night and tries to hurt my family, not just middle of the night, anytime. And I try to see if reasoning with him will help. If I give him some money or whatever it is he wants, he will go away quietly. And if I think that there are ways to avoid a confrontation of physical violence or whatever, I might choose to do that. But that's where the Gita says, use your intellect. If you can get away without hurting him, maybe you decide if that's the right thing to do, or to capture him and hand him to the police. Or if you have no choice, you have no choice but to take a weapon and to disable him or to kill him, because he's out there to hurt you. If you're a soldier, as Arjuna was, your duty is to fight. You are a policeman, your duty is to grapple with, fight with, control the bad guys. At that time, you can't say, well, adharma means not hurting people, so I'm a policeman, I'm not going to hurt this guy. Or I'm a soldier, I'm not going to fire, even though my officers are telling me to fire. You cannot do that. That's your dharma, that's your swadharma. You must fight because that is your sworn duty. Now, at that time, if because you are delusional or confused and you're lazy, and you say, I don't feel like doing it, that, he says, is tamasic renunciation. You're lazy, say, I just don't feel like doing it, or you have a wrong notion. As Arjuna did, he said, I'm a warrior, but these are people that I know, these are my cousins. Yes, they're bad people, but when I came into this battle, I thought I'm going to fight. I prepared for 13 years for this battle, but now that I'm facing my cousins, I don't feel like hurting them. He says that is tamasic, lazy kind of renunciation. That has not been thought out carefully to say, should I be playing in this battle? Should I be acting in this battle? Or should I withdraw, as Arjuna was planning to do? And Krishna told him, look, you've tried everything. You went to negotiate with these people. They didn't listen to you. They were evil people. They're hurting the population. They're bad rulers. The kingdom is going down the dogs, and they're just very, very corrupt. You've tried everything you could to negotiate with them. They're not listening. The only thing that you have as a choice is to fight with them and remove them from the kingdom. So that is, if you say, nah, I still don't want to do it, I just don't feel like it, I'm lazy, it's not right, then that is a tamasic kind of tyaga. Rajasic tyaga is where you give up because of fear, or because of you think that something is difficult, or you're emotionally tangled, or you're ignorant. For example, if you're a judge and you're faced with a person in your court who is close to you, that you're attached to, a relative, a friend, a neighbor, somebody that you like, and you say, I can't do this duty. If you give it up because of your fear that that's not right. He says, if you think that you're not going to be able to make a proper decision and you give it up, that's fine. You say, I cannot be objective in this case, that's fine. But if you say, I just don't feel like it, out of fear or reluctance or ignorance, he says that's not correct. Same thing with a policeman. If you're a policeman and you have to arrest somebody, and it happens to be somebody that you know or you're attached to, you can't go away from your responsibility. You can pass it on to another policeman. You can't just turn your back and say, well, I'm not going to do anything. Same thing with a physician or a surgeon having to treat a relative. And the last one is sattvic tyaga, which is where you renounce your ego, you renounce your I-ness, your minus, your attachment to the action. So you're renouncing all of that the way the Gita says you should, and still doing your duty because you ought to do it. You have to do your duty. The example of that I heard very nice was, as a physician, I can understand this. You have so many organs in your body. You have the kidneys, you have the heart, you have the lungs, you have the brain, you have every kind of organ doing different jobs, totally different jobs. Every organ is doing its swadharma. It is doing its duty as it was prescribed to the organ to do. The heart has to beat from the moment it is conceived until the moment it dies. So it just keeps beating. That's its swadharma. And as long as each organ is doing its duty, the whole body functions beautifully. You never think to yourself, oh, is my heart beating? I better check. Is my lung doing its job? Is my kidney doing its job? Is my brain doing its job? Now, sometimes the brain doesn't do its job. So, all these organs do their job perfectly without renouncing it. And as long as it does, the whole system, the whole body moves very comfortably. When one organ is not doing its job properly, what happens? Everything sort of comes to a halt because your mind, your intellect, your whole emotions, everything gets focused on that one organ that is not doing a proper job, because things start to fall apart. You start to say, my stomach hurts, this hurts, that hurts, I don't like this, I got to go see the doctor, I can't concentrate on anything. So he's saying that each one of us, Krishna says, in society have a duty to do, actions to do, and results will generate. But you cannot think of the results, cannot think of why you're doing this. This is your obligation. You do it. And as long as you do it, the whole system, the world, the civilizations, everything moves fine as long as each one does his duty. And so that is but as long as you give up your I-ness, my-ness, I did it kind of thing, and without thought of the results, you will be successful, calm, peaceful. And this again is a promise that as long as you do it this way, the rewards, the fruit will follow inexplicably. So next time we will do, I hope I covered everything. I think I did. Yeah. Next time we'll do chapter 10, 11, verse 10, 11, 12. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about space, because something my friend Lou likes.
Oh, yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, Lou likes things about space and the universe.
Yeah.
And in 2 days, Lou, do you know that on Wednesday, tomorrow, by the way, is the 21st, Tuesday, right? December.
Yep.
Longest night.
That's
and
right.
As of 11 a.m. is when the northernmost part of the hemisphere starts to move away, or again back towards the sun, so that the days are going to start getting longer as of 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, the winter solstice.
Winter solstice.
Yeah.
And on Wednesday, the 22nd, you know about this? The James Webb Space Telescope?
Oh, no, I'll be interested to find out.
Yeah, this is a fascinating thing, my friends. If you log on for the next episode, what episode is that, Lou?
That'll be 195.
195. Mm-hmm. If you log on to 195, if I have time at the end, I want to say a little bit about this James Webb Space Telescope, which is 100 or 1,000 times more powerful than the Hubble telescope.
Oh, wow.
And why is it important? Because it captures light from millions of years ago. How much time did we use up for this episode today, Lou?
We're at 24 minutes.
24. Okay, I'll take 2 minutes, okay?
Yep.
And I'll repeat this again in the next episode, but I know my friend Lou will find these things interesting. For those of you who have experienced, people say, hey, I saw a whole Roman battalion walking past this dungeon right in front of me. And people say, I saw a ghost. I saw this thing. And it's unexplainable. You cannot explain it. You say, how does that happen? Have you heard of this, Lou? That
sure.
People see things.
Visions, yep. Absolutely.
Visions.
Yep.
And nobody knew what this was for a long period of time. They said, is there such a thing as a ghost? How does people look and see a Roman battalion walking right in front of you when it's not there? These people are actual people that you saw. So we realize that what happens is the light from that battalion walking by many, say, 1,000 years ago, was then, as it is going, got caught in a quasar. The light, just like you take a camera and you take a picture of a light, and that image then gets transposed onto a film or something electronic, that light gets caught in a quasar. And at some later point, and that light is released and it travels back to the earth, you see that light, you see that Roman battalion walking, and you actually see it like a movie. And you say, I can see this Roman battalion walking. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but I'm telling you that essentially the light rays coming from you, me, us, all of these things that you see, then travel into space, and they can be captured in a quasar. And our whole universe is like 14 billion years old. Billion. A billion, my friends, those of you who have forgotten, is 1,000 million. So this is 14,000 million years old, our universe. And those lights from the first few planets that came after the Big Bang, that light is still traveling. That's the amazing part. It is still traveling, because even though, it gets weaker and weaker as it travels, but that light can be captured by this new James Webb Space Telescope. If everything goes well, this telescope is going to travel 1,000,000 miles in the next day after tomorrow. If everything goes well, it's going to be stationed like many light years away.
Right.
And it's going to capture and then send back to Earth within 6 months. So by June of 2022, by June of 2022, we'll have pictures of different things that it sees, including the planets as they were 1,000,000 years or 100 million years after the Big Bang.
Right.
Compared to what we have now, which is 14 billion years.
On that scale, we're talking distance and time. When we're looking back 20 light years, we're looking back 20 years ago.
Now, these things were captured by the Upanishads and Gita thousands of years ago, captured in that they were described. The, what is it called? In Geneva, they have that, what is it called? Hadron.
Oh, the particle collider.
Particle collider.
Yeah.
And there's a big statue of Shiva, Lord Shiva, outside the collider. And Shiva has this drum that he drums, and the rhythm of that is written down in the Vedas. And that rhythm, they say, is the exact atomic something that they are now using. And this is what they found as a formula for the atomic bomb. I kid you not, this is the truth.
Yeah.
So the person, Oppenheimer, who designed the atomic bomb, spoke Sanskrit fluently. He was a student of the Vedas, and he said he got this formula from the Vedas. And I'm not kidding. Look it up on the internet. And he said that the ancients knew about these atomic movements. And so the point is that we don't actually need to travel 40 light years with our body, with a telescope. These people who were self-realized, their minds, their intellects could do the traveling.
Yeah.
And they would travel and recognize knowledge that we now are only now getting. They knew this thousands and thousands of years ago, crystal clear. They talked about the movement, not just of the Earth around the sun, but also of the sun around the center of the galaxy, and how long it took. So they knew a lot of things. What I'm going to be talking about in the next episode, I hope, if we have time, is how the Gita spoke about different planets at higher levels of consciousness than we have here on this earth. And that with proper karma, that our minds and intellects went to heaven, which now, only now, we're getting to realize that although we're not talking about a heaven being up a space up in the sky, but could very well refer to other planets that are many thousands of light years away, where you graduate to because of proper deeds. I don't know. I don't know whether that is the case or not, but as I was reading about this James Webb Space Telescope, it did talk about 40 light years away, there is a star that has 7 planets revolving around it, and 3 of those 7 planets are very much capable of having life because of the presence of carbon dioxide, oxygen, water, the right temperature. They called it the Goldilocks planets because they're not too hot, not too cold. So interesting for my friend Lou. And
Yeah,
when
that'll
I
be fascinating. Yes.
heard about it, I thought of you, Lou, and I said, hey, it also links and joins up with what our ancients told us in the Upanishads and Gita. So I hope you'll join us next time. What, Lou? Sorry.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. All right, friends. Thanks. I'll see you next episode. Bye.